Would it be nice if rich people donated to fixing streets and schools and stuff like that? Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it would be. Good call. Also, fat people.
What's going on, you guys? Today we have Emma Vigeland slamming Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan is out here defending the billionaire oligarchs. Emma Vigeland is not having it. Let's watch.
The Constitution was set up to protect your money. That's what it was set up for. Go ahead.
That was part of the origination of the Senate because they didn't want too much damn democracy.
We recognized that when they set up our government. They set up our government to protect it against tyranny. And they did it by having all these different branches of government, and they're all coordinated, and there's a lot of stuff that keeps people from just running it the way they want to run it, like a king.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm certainly I'm no professional historian, but my understanding is that the federal government was never intended to be the size that it is today. Like, it's just, we're very top heavy in the way we're structured. You know, our federal government is enormous and out of control and almost impossible to manage. But then, like, on our community level and in our state government, things are, especially local government, things are just very neglected and weak and disconnected. And so, like, that's why you see a lot of the problems. Like, we shouldn't have to rely on the federal government to fix things out in the street in small town America. Like, the communities and the local government should be the ones fixing that. And that's the way I see things. Like, even before our current form of government, I remember reading about, like, Articles of Confederation, and that was just an even smaller version of federal government, but it needed to have a little more structure than that. But even from day one, it seems like the federal government's never supposed to be the size that it's gotten to. Like, that's
a good argument if the country didn't get to the size that it got. The problem is you can't have like 30 people running 300 billion people.
But I think you could have more issues. So, like, I think it's almost impossible. It's almost impossible for states to be able to have the control to make the right decisions for the people in their areas when the federal government limits them in so many different ways.
Pause it. This is just somebody who has been subjected to a bunch of propaganda.
Yep.
Because to the extent that the federal government has controls over these things, we're going to limit the amount of stuff that your big industrialist. And, you know, what's amazing, too, is when you think about, like, coming from West Virginia and having this perspective. West Virginia is so corrupt by big money that it is kept, and because they have these resources there that have been exploited by big money in that state, and has impoverished large swaths of people there for generations.
And even though I may agree that the government, you know, should have more interference, I think that they have people like this guy. I think his name is Oliver Anthony. The reason why they feel like this in the first place, the only reason why they don't, or why they may complain that the government is, you know, they're sort of making it so hard for the state, you know, they're not really looking out for the people. I think the only reason that they can criticize the government, you know, not really looking out for the people in these towns or so much and so forth, is because, I mean, the government has sort of showed what it's doing. I mean, you have the both parties at this point. You have you know, the Democratic Party has sort of become just a light version of the Conservative Party, which, you know, where they're not really looking out for either people. I'm not saying that, oh, you know, that means we should not have the government, you know, interfere whatsoever. I'm saying that you have people that believe that the government isn't really helping anyone out because, you know, the only reason that they can say that is because there have been plenty of examples that have happened.
Centuries now. And century plus. And this is a function of corruption in state and local governments. Corruption in that, you know, Joe Manchin, you know, owns is working for the company that's trying to exploit this and that. I mean, we could go through on and on with this.
Yes.
But the federal government, to the extent that it's trying to control, is saying, don't put so much mercury in the air.
Yeah.
Maybe separate your beef from the poop when you are processing it.
Yeah, right. That's the thing is, like, there's a lot.
Provide health care for your citizens. Right. And here's 90% of the money to do so.
But that's the thing is like I almost feel badly that this guy is being thrust into having this conversation. Who knows how this song got so big and if it was AstroTurf with his knowledge or without it. But either way, he does not need to be going on Joe Rogan to be the voice of some sort of generation. That was the Republican Party cynically using a certain aesthetic to basically divert from the structural power dynamics that we talk about here, so they can make it about some sort of like flyover country, forgotten man cultural thing, as opposed to really directing the anger towards the people that hold power in this country.
Right, and because there's things that are semi-agreeable, like the top-heavy thing. Well, if you're talking about the military, I agree with you. If you're talking about insurance programs, I don't agree with you. And also, like the local control thing. Looking at this article from Texas GOP's broadest attempt yet to erode Blue City's power gets one step closer to becoming law. I doubt Joe Rogan's covered this. I'd be curious if what Oliver Anthony thinks about it. Republican state leaders' broadest effort to prevent Democratic-run cities and counties from enacting progressive policies. Like that was HB.
Oh, we've seen this in North Carolina. Did this
right.
to I think to fend off a city ordinance that was going to have a minimum wage. I mean, we see it on and on.
Yes,
And I think Emma Vigeland is making a great point. Why do we even have to platform someone like this who he's making a good song, and he's making a good song about a certain issue that I believe is both people can agree on. I'm not saying that, oh, it's a good song. I'm just saying that it's something that all people can start to see. It's like, oh, well, these people that have all of these, that have greed, they're going to, sort of cut down the people that might have made this country something to begin with. That you have this working class people that are getting undercutted by the rich and powerful currently, that are either taking bribes, that are, doing just all these shady business tactics to acquire that wealth. I think that is sort of what he was going for, that message, and it was taken over, to by the conservative movement to be something that is just so political. Instead of something bringing people together, it was something that immediately was like, it had to become partisan, it had to get political, and it's just like, why does it even have to be that? So that it's just another trick, so that it can misdirect all of the attention to this system, that the system as a whole, that's actually that is against the people at the end of the day.
And the systemic thing about why local politics are worse often than federal is that, or like more inept, is because they're cheaper to buy for the people
Of course.
that are near it.
Of course. Before the federal Supreme Court was bought by Harlan Crow and other billionaires, you go to the states in North Carolina, South Carolina, any place where there was an election for the state Supreme Court, you'll see big money had come in there and bought these elections already. Go ahead.
Thing about this, so I'm going to be talking out of my ass. But I would imagine they're probably low on funding too. There's probably a lot of issues, especially in places that are poor, because they rely on taxes from those people. Yeah. It's all very complicated, but the idea of taxing the rich being the way to fix all this, no, you're just going to give more money to the government, and they're not really good at doing stuff. I mean, would it be nice if rich people donated to fixing streets and schools and stuff like that? Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it would be. Good call. Also, fat people shouldn't be
pause it for a second. I mean, he
donated?
He got stuck in a cul-de-sac here because he just said they can't do stuff because they're probably underfunded, and these local poor areas can't have good services because they can't collect taxes from the people. But that doesn't mean that we should collect taxes from people because government's not going to do anything with it. So even the local governments can't fix their city streets. And then would it be good if rich people donated money to give to fix the streets? Yeah, that would be good, but that's not going to happen. I'm lost here. Let me go to fat
That's
people.
why we need taxation.
Let me go to fat people. Hold on.
Yeah.
I got to go to a go-to.
He wants the government to be bigger because of the size of the population, but not bigger in any way that is commensurate with the taxes involved here. Just bigger, in big government, big size. Makes no sense.
It's all very complicated, but the idea of taxing the rich being the way to fix all this, no, you're just going to give more money to the government, and they're not really good at doing stuff. I mean, would it be nice if rich people donated to fixing streets and schools and stuff like that? Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it would be. Good call. Also,
Condescension.
fat people shouldn't be buying fucking fudge rounds with food stamps.
Yeah.
Also, that's not good.
Yeah, and that's a funny.
But also,
And at the very end of the day, you know, Joe Rogan, what he's doing, he's building, he's just wanting to build doubt within his viewers. So they're going to listen to this. They're going to say, oh yeah, you know, I don't want to pay in taxes. That's just to pay the government. The government's not going to know what to do with my money. They're not really doing anything good with it, you know, and they're going to fight for all these taxes to get lowered. They're going to fight for, you know, for the income tax to get abolished. They're going to, I mean, they're going to put someone in there that they can trust, right? They're going to put someone in government they can trust. And who are they trusting? They're trusting this guy who is going to, you know, sell them shit meme coins. He made his actual fucking shit meme coin so that people could get it. And then he's going to, you know, profit off of that. He's going to continue to dissect this system. And it works for the short term. It definitely works for the short term. But eventually, you know, what happens if we continue to do this? What happens if we continue to just, you know, where both sides are not really trusting the government, you know, because of the things that are going on, but there's nothing that's actually being done with it. You know, right now, I mean, I don't trust the government the way it's being handled. And, you know, whenever there's someone else in government, Joe Rogan's going to tell people not to trust the way that government's being handled, but no one's doing nothing about it. So eventually, you know, this is just how I see that the nation actually falls altogether, you know, as just one giant freaking like shit show.
That's a conversation that sort of got blown multiple ways, and really I like to let a song be left up to the interpretation of the listener, but even with that, it's like, yeah, I would love to write a song about, like, I always thought it was funny to, like, when GM got bailed out of the recession after they made all these terrible decisions, like, I never understood why I've never understood corporate welfare either to much of an extent, so I do understand the people making that argument.
well, the corporate welfare argument is you're going to lose a shitload of jobs. You can preserve those jobs, give those people a loan, they build back up, then they repay the loan. That's what they did, though.
Yeah.
So there's actually some benefit
Yeah.
to that.
Government
so
did
yeah,
something
keeps
well.
American
Pause it.
jobs.
So in other words, the government did it. And what would be the problem if the government, in providing that money to GM, said, incidentally, we're part of your shareholders now? Like all those other people who loaned you money, they got shares because they loaned you money. We're one of those now too.
I mean, he's in a bind here because he keeps bumping up against his desire to not get taxed. Like he's in a
So there we have it, you guys. Like, you know, Joe Rogan is going to be the last one to take political advice to, but these messages are important because you have a lot of people that will base their entire argument off of something that they heard on a, you know, freaking Spotify podcast. So it's one of those things to where, you know, you have to have certain type of ways to defend against, you know, just outright ignorance. But let me know what you guys think in the comments, and I'll see y'all tomorrow.